Hi, everyone. This is Veronica Watson with IHCDA. We're going to wait another minute or two to get things started, but if you are on, could you do me a favor and post in our Q&A section to let me know that you can hear me? That would be a great favor. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Watson. I am the Community Programs Manager for the Neighborhood Assistance Program here at IHCDA. The clock says 11:01, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. If folks are coming on, hopefully they can go ahead and catch up. Today's webinar is being recorded, and I do intend to post this recording along with the slides to our website by early next week. I do want to note that our website is going through a small issue right now. If you were to go to it, you would not see our manual and the application link. We are going through an update and it wiped some recent updates that we made, including those two links. But the application link does work. It is on the slide here. So hopefully you can jot it down if you haven't been able to access that yet. It should also still work from the email that was sent, alerting everyone that the application was open. And if you still have trouble accessing it, you can always email the NAP email and we will get you that link. Other housekeeping items, there is a Q&A option for you to chat to us. Let us know either there's something going wrong or if you have a question about something. We will be taking questions throughout. I have a couple of slides that will tell me to stop and take any questions. I'm joined by my colleague Cedric Warren, who will read off your questions at those points. So if you have questions on any of the material that we are presenting, that I am presenting, please go ahead and post in the Q&A. So, and thank you to all of you who posted that you could hear me after I asked. Looks like several of you posted. I really appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Today's agenda, I am going to provide a very brief overview of the Neighborhood Assistance Program, just for those of you who are either new or maybe have been away for a little while and need a quick refresher. I'm then going to go in depth into our application and then spend a slide or two on updates to the manual for those of you who are returning NAP applicants. There are some things that I want to make sure you're aware of before you apply to the program. All right, so as a very brief high-level overview of the Neighborhood Assistance Program, it is a program in the state of Indiana where $2.5 million in tax credits is provided each year to nonprofit organizations to use as a fundraising tool for their neighborhood projects. You can see on the screen we have the code where you can find information about the Neighborhood Assistance Program and how it was originally envisioned, and that part of the code is what our manual is based on. So the way that the tax credits work is that they are worth 50% of the value of a contribution. What this means is when you are working with a donor and you are providing them with a tax credit, they need to provide you with a donation 2 times or twice the amount of that tax credit. So if they want a $100 tax credit, they need to provide you with a $200 donation. So this program is administered by my agency, the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, or IHCDA, and it is done so in partnership with the Indiana Department of Revenue, and that's the agency that manages the credits that your donors seek when they submit their taxes. All right, so the way that the program works in terms of the program cycle, kind of a brief overview of the timeline, you are currently all in the first step where you are applying, and assuming you get approved, you will sign an agreement with us at IHCDA. Once you have that agreement signed and July 1st starts, that's the start of our program year, you can start distributing those tax credits to your donors. And you have to do so at least 60% of those tax credits need to be distributed by December 31st of this year. Once that happens, you report on those donations to us. Oops. And the report for this program round will be due January 19th, 2022. We'll use the information that you include in that report, including donors' names, their contact information, social security number, donation amount. We use all of that and we report that to DOR. They use that information then to honor the credits that your donors seek when they submit their 2021 taxes. After that, you're going to distribute any remaining credits by March 31st of next year, 2022. You'll report on those by April 20th of 2022. And then once you're done distributing, or maybe as you're distributing and as you're collecting donations and funds from your donors, you're going to use those to complete the project or provide the service that you described in the application that you are currently submitting. And once you provide that service or complete that project, you're going to report on that project or service or how you use those funds to us in a closeout report that's due September 26, 2022. And just to make sure that we are on the same page of what exactly a tax credit is, I know sometimes we'll get this question on the difference between a credit and a deduction. A tax credit is what lowers the amount that a taxpayer has to pay in taxes, or what your donors would have to pay in taxes. A deduction, in comparison, would lower their taxable income. A credit just lowers what they actually owe IDOR at the end of the year. All right, so this year's hard timeline for the program round, we released the application and the manual on April 19th. It was posted on our website and it should be posted back on our website in the next day or two. Today is our webinar and the due date for the application is May 17th, so make sure you have that date circled on your calendar if you haven't submitted your application already. If you have submitted an application and after today's webinar you realize you need to make an edit, you can go back and edit your application until May 17th. We would prefer that to you submitting a second application. And if you need help getting access to your application, there should be a link in a confirmation email you receive. If you can't find that, email us and we can get you that link. The awards will be announced by June 21st at the latest, which is our tentative deadline. That might be a little bit later, but our target date for awards announced this year is June 21st, and our target date for having contracts out is June 25th. Our target date for having the contracts signed is July 1st to line up with our start date on the program round, but if there's a delay either in the awards announcement or getting contracts out, and we can only get contracts out either the day before July 1st or the day of July 1st, we will extend that date to give you more time to get those contracts signed. And then the first date that you can start distributing credits, if you do sign before July 1st, would be July 1st. Even if you sign your agreement on July 26th, you cannot start distributing your tax credits until July 1st. All right, are there any questions at this point, Cedric?
Sorry, had to find the unmute. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry about that. So far, we don't have any questions in our chat.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll go ahead and get rolling into the application. All right, so I'm just going to go through the different sections of the application, and some questions I'll do a little bit deeper dive, either to explain what exactly we're looking for in your responses, or to explain things that might be new from previous years, since I know a lot of you might be returning applicants. So when you're open up the application, the first couple questions you're going to have are on your organization's basic information: its name, its address, its executive director, the primary NAP contact, all that good stuff. What's new this year is we are not asking for your agency's mission. So if you are looking for that and you can't find it, That's why. That's on purpose. We are not asking for that this year. Once you provide that basic information, we start to ask more specifically about things that might impact your agency's eligibility. We do ask for the EIN, and we also ask for previous IHCDA grant information. Now, this particular question does not impact your eligibility, so I don't want you to freak out if you end up having to say, no, you don't have any prior IHCDA grant, any grants with us. But this is a helpful question for us, so that if you are approved and we do set up your award and your reports in our system, this will allow us to connect your organization to that prior grant information rather than setting up a whole new account for your organization. We're trying to cut back on how often we do that. NAP is a program that can struggle with that since there are so many agencies. We want to make sure that we are tying agencies to the correct organization information. So this just lets us know that we should look for you for your organization in our system. After that, we ask for your 501c3 confirmation and confirmation that you are registered as a nonprofit here in Indiana in good standing. And after that, we're going to start asking about your program or your project or your service. So the way that NAP works, there is a list of eligible activities that would allow for your agency to receive NAP tax credits. The majority of them must be provided in designated economically disadvantaged areas. And so the ones on the screen, looks like there's about 10, those are the specific services or program types that you can do that must be done in a designated economically disadvantaged area, which I recognize is a very awkward phrase, but that comes from that Indiana code that I mentioned in the beginning, so we have to use it. The other types of services that you can provide outside of those designated areas, there are a couple of other options. 2 of them can be provided to economically disadvantaged populations, otherwise often referred to as low-income populations or populations with low incomes. Those are job training and crime prevention. And then 2 other services that fall outside of area or households or populations. Those are neighborhood assistance that promotes higher employment that can be provided in any Indiana neighborhood, regardless of designated economically disadvantaged areas or households, and then services that are provided to ex-offenders. So going back to that designated economically disadvantaged area, that very awkward phrase. For those of you who are new to NAP, or maybe you've only been in it for a year or 2, you might be wondering, what exactly is that? Which is a very good question. And the Indiana Code defines it in such a way, which is on our screen, but basically it has to be an area designated by some federal, state, regional, or local entity as an economically disadvantaged area. And they have to make that designation based on some sort of that says indices of social or economic conditions. So basically some stat, some data point that shows that this area has a higher concentration of folks that have lower incomes than maybe other areas in the region or in the state. So we recognize 3 kind of more common types of areas. You'll see that in the application. We ask, what type of area are you applying under? And so we list enterprise zones, opportunity zones, and qualified census tracts. Enterprise zones are areas that were originally designated, I believe, by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. They are now managed by a statewide association for enterprise zones. Opportunity zones were nominated by the Governor Holcomb, and I believe they were recognized by the Treasury Department. And qualified census tracts are designated by HUD. So those are all federal or state entities that we recognize as being able to make those designations, and their designations are usually based on something like the population has a median income below 80% of the area median income, or maybe 20% of the population has a low income. So things like that. Those are the 3 we found fairly common, somewhat easy areas to check for you and for us, but we do not limit to just those three. If you have another type of area that you would like to apply under, we have accepted in the past things like food deserts that are designated based on a low-income population. Those are designated by USDA. We have, I think in one case, approved a medically underserved population that was designated by a federal health agency, not HHS, but maybe something within HHS. Can't remember, but we do accept other types of areas. So if you are not within one of those three areas, but you still want to apply with a service that needs to be provided in an economically disadvantaged area, you do have other options. You would just need our approval first. You would need to email us. What you would do if you need to email us, you would email the NAP email, which is on the screen. You would provide us with the name or the type of area that you are applying for. So maybe a food desert, who made the designation, that would be USDA. And then if you have it, how that designation was made, what information it was based on, and when it was made. I believe USDA, they have a map that provides information on food deserts. And I believe that was done in 2015. And the data they use, I believe, was that 80% AMI or 20% at the federal poverty level. So if you have that information, that would be enough for us to be able to approve another type of area that you'd like to apply under. Now, when you are applying for a designated economically disadvantaged area, we do limit the number of areas that you can apply for, which is up to 5 areas. We are no longer accepting answers like we serve the entire Northwest Indiana region, which includes the following 20 economically disadvantaged areas. That's going a little bit beyond the scope of this program, which is neighborhood based or neighborhood focused. We really need to see projects, programs, or services that are targeting specific neighborhoods or areas. So, and that's why we're limiting it to those 5 types of areas. And then you will need to commit to spending your funds in those areas. So again, if you serve a much larger region, but you are applying for maybe 3 or 4 specific, let's say, enterprise zones, that's fine. You would just need to commit to spending the NAP funds only in those enterprise zones. You cannot spend the funds outside in a non-economically disadvantaged area. If this creates an issue for you based on either previous applications that you have submitted or just the way that your program functions, go ahead and email us so we can try and work through it with you. All right, so before I get further into the application, I did want to show you the resources that we use and that we direct you to in order to find these areas. I know these types of areas are not something that most folks are used to working with. I know most nonprofits are not really concerned with qualified census tracts or opportunity zones or the like. So want to make you as comfortable with those as possible since they're a requirement of our application. So when you go to the website that we have linked to, which is an Indiana government website, when you're looking for the opportunity zones, this is what you'll see, the map, and then on the right side, it lists all of the opportunity zones. So when you're looking in your community and you're trying to find whether or not where you provide your service, if that is in an opportunity zone, you can use this map. And if it is within one of these opportunity zones, when you are asked to name the opportunity zone, I have a couple of examples of how you can do so. Basically, you need to make it very obvious that 1, it's an opportunity zone, and then 2, which opportunity zone it is. It would not suffice for you to say opportunity zone Clark or Clark County, because as you can see, Clark County has 3. We would need you to identify which of the 3. If you're only applying for 1, maybe 1 or 2, we would need you to identify the exact one. So in this case, that would be by census tract. So make sure you include opportunity zone and census tract. If you'd like to include the county just to make it a little bit easier for you and for us to find it, totally fine. But make sure you have opportunity zone or a shortened version of that. I have OZCT if you want to try and shorten it that way, and then the census tract. For the enterprise zones, this is a little bit different from last year. We found that the map that we've been using previously is no longer being updated. So there's a new website that you need to use in order to find a state, the enterprise zones in our state. So that website is on the screen. It's the last line. So when you go to that website and you find the map will tell you which counties have enterprise zones. Some counties will have multiple. So you'll need to find your county, see if your community has an enterprise zone in it. So in Tippecanoe County, they have one. They have one in Lafayette. And then to find the map to see where exactly that enterprise zone covers, you would need to go to that particular website. So in Lafayette's case, that would be the www.luea.org. You need to go to that particular website, find the map on there, and see if where you're providing your services falls within that. And then qualified census tracts. When you go to the website, you'll pull up, you'll see the map, you can do searches. I recommend searching not by the exact address, but search by state and then county. So you can see I did a search for Indiana and then Allen County. If you zoom in enough, you can check to show where the qualified census tracts are with shading and with outlines. Make sure you're using 2021 data. They do allow you to choose 2020. We need this to be an updated qualified census tract, so make sure you have 2021 checked. And then you can click down onto where exactly your service is being provided. So I just picked a random place close to downtown Fort Wayne, and a pop-up should come up. What you need to see on that pop-up is qualified. So it looks like it's the fourth line down of that pop-up, status 2021. If you go over, it says qualified. If it does not say qualified, it is not a QCT. We've had issues in the past where people use this website, they find their census tract, and they give us a census tract number, but they never checked to make sure it was qualified. And in some cases, it was not. So make sure that you pull this up and that you can actually see that your area, your census tract is qualified. And again, when you are submitting this, make sure you include the QCT or maybe qualified census tract, something again that's telling us very specifically what you're applying for, and then the census number. Census tract number. All right, Cedric, any questions on any of that information?
Yes, so we have a couple questions. I will read off the first one for you. So the first one says, is there a way to find out if our organization has any past IHCDA grants in the past? I assume this means other than NAP credits. So it looks like they're just trying to search past grants.
Yeah, there is not a website that you can use to search our records. I suggest if you have done NAP previously, the answer would be yes, you do have a previous IHCDA grant. If you are completely new, this is your first time to NAP, and you're not sure if you have received an IHCDA grant previously, I recommend talking to whoever runs your fiscal department or your fiscal staff or your grants development staff or office. If you have none of those, or they say if they are unsure, the answer would most likely be no. You should, someone in your office should know whether or not you have an IHCDA grant, but there is no searchable service for you to use to find that out that we can provide.
Great. So our second one says, our program provides job skills training to people through various designated areas in northern Indiana. Although our headquarters where the training takes place is not in any of the designated areas, the question is, do I need to specify the designated areas that our students live in and return to after their training?
No, this particular program is concerned where the services are being provided. So that's either has to be in your office, which needs to be in an economically disadvantaged area, or if you provide services at partner organizations or any other office or location, that's fine. That as long as that location is in an economically disadvantaged area. We do not go by where your students are, where they live or where they come from. That is more tied to economically disadvantaged households or populations. So if you were to apply for something that is under that if it's a service that has to be done by area, it has to be where that service is provided. Now, if you are applying under a service for economically disadvantaged households, area, it doesn't matter, and the application should be set up in such a way that you don't need to answer any questions about where your services are provided. What you'll need to answer is how you check or how you can be assured and how you can assure us that the population you're serving is economically disadvantaged household or population. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, go ahead and email us, email the NAP email, and we can work through your particular situation.
All right. So it looks like there was some audio issues for somebody, but it looks like it's working back. Don't see any other questions, so it looks like you can keep going.
Okay, and if there are any audio issues, hopefully, I hate to say this, hopefully it's on your end, because we are recording, so if you need to go back to re-listen to anything that you missed, you should be able to do so, like I said, hopefully by early next week. All right, so moving forward on the application. So if you are choosing one of those services that is for designated economically disadvantaged households, the way that that is defined in the code is a household with an annual income that is at or below 80% of the area median income, or some other federally designated target population. So similar to areas, we are open to what an other federally designated target population is, but you need to explain that in the follow-up question on what population you serve and how you check that they meet that particular definition. Some things that we might accept is maybe 185% of the federal poverty level for those that are served by, I believe that is the target at the federal level and our state level for free or reduced lunch. So that's something that is set at the federal, I believe at the federal level, definitely at the state level, as a target population that needs assistance based on income. And so that's something that we would accept. So again, make sure that you're including the specific type of population you are serving. It would help if it includes who makes that kind of designation. So I believe in previous years, folks might have used Medicaid as a particular target population, those who receive Medicaid. So that could potentially work. But just make sure that you include not just the target population that you serve, but how your organization checks that they meet that income qualification. All right, so when you are describing your particular NAP project, program, or service, same as previous years, we're asking for a narrative description, but new this year, we are asking very specific information. That information is asked for in the manual. If we were to try and include that in the application, it would make the application probably twice as long as what it is. So we kept that information in the manual. It's on pages 9 through 12. So make sure as you're filling out your application that you open up the manual to those pages, you find the service that you are trying to apply under, and you answer the specific question that is assigned to that service. So for those of you who want to apply under crime prevention and reduction activities, the things we ask for is how the funds will be used and how that activity or how you use the funds reduces crime in your designated area. So make sure that you address that information. My tip to you is that when you are filling out that particular narrative, that you use the same language or phrasing from that service type or prompt. So for that example provided above, you could put something like, our NAP funded program reduces crime in our target service area by doing X, Y, and Z. That ensures that you are directly addressing our question or our prompt. It's one of the easiest ways to miss a question and to throw your eligibility into doubt is if you don't address the questions we ask. So if you can do nothing else, if you walk away from this webinar with nothing else, please make sure that you are reading our questions carefully, especially the narrative-based questions. Make sure that you are opening the manual and you are looking for that additional information that we are asking for, and make sure that you are writing your narrative in such a way that directly addresses that. You do not want us to question or doubt whether or not you've given us the right information or whether or not you have answered our questions. Our ability to follow up with you and ask for additional information is very limited. So this could potentially be your one and only chance to get us what we're asking for. And if we don't get it, you could potentially be denied. So read the questions, make sure you address them directly. All right. Also, when you are describing your particular project or service, make sure that you are explicitly tying it to the NAP eligible service you selected. So on the previous example, make sure that the activities you describe do actually fit under crime prevention or reduction. Something that we've seen previously is agencies that apply for swim lessons at their facility's pool, they will label that as an educational program, even though if you read the definition of education, it talks about scholastic education and about improving, basically improving for job prospects. Swim lessons, don't really fit very well under that. They fit much more comfortably under recreational facility. If it's your own pool and you are providing services through that with that pool, recreational facility would be a much better fit for that particular project or program. So make sure that whatever you are applying under service, project, program, that it matches as closely as possible to the NAP service that you are choosing. And then finally, if you are choosing one of the services that has to be provided in an economically disadvantaged area, we are asking a new question this year that asks you to describe how you are providing the services in that area. In previous years, when we asked agencies to identify their economically disadvantaged area, we would check to make sure that their office was in that area, but came to realize that you could be providing services outside of your office. Maybe you're a Habitat for Humanity and you're building houses in a designated area, but your office is in a different non-designated area. Or maybe you are providing educational services and your office isn't in an area, but you're working in local schools that are. We think that's totally fine and legitimate. So this question helps us clarify that and help show that even if your office is not in a particular area, where are you providing those services or doing that project is. So make sure if you have an address, providing an address is really helpful in saying this is where we actually provide our services. Or you could just provide a general description. There are 3 schools in that particular designated area that we do services in, or we're a Habitat. We own 2 sites in that designated area, and we will be building a house on at least one of them next year. So just make that clear, and make it clear if you are providing it in a partner's office. If you could describe that as well, that is helpful for our review. All right, so once you are done describing your project, program, or service, you're going to request your NAP tax credits. So there are a couple of changes from previous years. The first change is that if you are returning NAP agency, you can apply for up to $15,000. That has lowered from previous years. 2 years ago, it was $40,000. Last year, I believe it was $25,000. This year, it's $15,000. Now, this decrease is not us trying to decrease the amount of tax credits you can receive. For those of you who are returning, you probably are familiar with the fact that no one has received over $15,000 in tax credits in several years. There are so many agencies getting approved, and we do have a limit on how many credits we can award, that the maximum amount agencies can ask for has been steadily decreasing. And so us decreasing the max amount you can apply for is our attempt to try to get what you apply for as close as possible to what you can actually receive, rather than have it be a small percentage of what you applied for. So if you're a returning agency, it's $15,000. If you are new, it's $5,000 in tax credits. The other new thing this year is we used to consider agencies, returning agencies, if they had participated in the last 3 years. That's now been changed to the last 2 years. So if you participated in 2019 or 2020, either or. So if you skip 2020, but you did 2019, that would work. You can apply for up to $15,000 in tax credits. And some notes on tax credits. When we make the award, the credit amount is what's going to be listed in your award agreement with us. That's what's going to be listed on our list of awardees that we post to our website. So those are the credits. When I refer to funds or funding, that is what you raise when you distribute those credits to donors. And normally it's going to be a 2-to-1, so that the funds you raise are twice as much as the credits you were awarded. So if you are awarded $10,000 in tax credits and you distribute all of them, you should raise $20,000 in funding. And we end up asking about both. In that closeout report, we're going to ask about the credits that you distributed and about the funds that you raised. So make sure that you have both in your head and that you're ready to report on both. In the past, we've had issues where agencies are used to reporting just on credit or the credit amount. We need to know about the full funding amount. All right, so at the end of the application, we're going to ask you to confirm a couple of things, confirming that you know and understand the reporting requirements on the donors and donor information and the closeout report. Confirm that the funds that you raise will not be used for religious purposes. And then you're going to hit submit. Before you hit submit, we do ask for an email address. That email address should be the one that receives a confirmation email. In that confirmation email, you'll get a copy of your application and a link to where you can edit your application if you need to. If you don't get that confirmation email in that email address's inbox, first check spam, and if it's not there as well, you can email us and we'll get you a copy of that. All right, Cedric, questions on any of that?
Yes. So we have a couple. So to start, the first question says, if you are using qualified population instead of area, how are we to indicate that?
So there will be when you are choosing the type of service, like I said, there's only 2 services that you can use qualified, it's economically disadvantaged households. So when you choose one of those 2, the application should update so that you only answer questions related to households. It's going to ask, are you using the 80% AMI that is provided in legislation, or are you choosing other? And then there's going to be a narrative question asking about, asking you to describe that population if you are using other, and then how you check for income or how you know your particular population falls within that definition. So between those 2 or 3 questions, that's how you'll describe that.
Great, thank you. So follow up to that one, or just the next question says, I'm new to applying. Are zip codes we serve acceptable for areas?
You will need to look up the zip codes that you serve, and you will need to see if they fall within, if you're using one of the 3 that we provide, you'll need to see if that zip code falls within a particular census tract, or maybe census tract grouping that is either qualified census tract or a census tract that's an opportunity zone, or one that falls within an enterprise zone. But you can't just give us a zip code unless there is some designation for that particular zip code that says that it is economically disadvantaged. As I mentioned, if you're applying for that, that would be an other type of area, and you would need to tell me who designated that and what they made, what that designation is, and if you have it, how that designation was made.
Great. And then the last questions are just about access of the 21-22 program manual for NAP. Not seen on the website, but we are undergoing some updates, correct?
Yes, actually, I'm going to cover some stuff to the manual now, and then accessing the manual. Yes, it is not currently on our website. We went through an update yesterday, and apparently it took down recent updates to the website, which included the manual and the link to the application. So the manual is not up, but it should be in the next day or 2. If you need a copy of it, email us, and we will make sure that you get that. But if nothing else, I'll go on and actually talk about the manual.
Sure, that's it.
All right. All right, so before I talk about the manual, I do want to make you all aware of how our award process is done, because we usually get a couple of questions about this every year, usually from folks who are new to the program. When we make your award of tax credits, we do so without discretion. IHCDA does not have the power to say Organization A's award sounds much better than Organization B's, so we're going to give Organization A 2 times as many tax credits. We do not do it that way. We don't have the authority, or our board of directors has not given me the authority to do that. Instead, we do it based on a percentage. We get the allocation percentage by taking the total available credits, which is 2.5 million, and then divide that by the total requested credits. And that's when we get an allocation percentage. So a couple years ago, when we allowed everyone to apply up to $40,000, we were getting total requested credits, say that 3 times fast, of up to 8 or 9 million. So when you divide 2.5 million by that, we were getting an allocation percentage of like 25%. So that's why a lot of you who were here a couple years ago, that's why you were getting $10,000, $11,000 even in credits, even though you had applied for 40,000 in credits. So once we have that allocation percentage, we multiply that across everyone's requested credits, and that's how we get your individual award amount. So be careful, be strategic when you are applying for credits. If you are new to this program, keep in mind that one, the way that the program works, if you apply for credits, you are awarded credits, and then you don't hit the benchmarks. If you do not distribute 60% in the first 6 months or 100% by that March 31st date, that's going to impact your future eligibility. So you don't want an award that is higher than what you can actually handle. But balance that against knowing that what you request is likely not going to be the full amount that you are given, even if you are approved. Again, that's why we are lowering the max amount for returning agencies from 25 to 15,000. My hope and my plan is that what you end up getting is much closer to that. In previous year, last 2 or 3 years, agencies have been getting somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 in tax credits. But just keep those two in mind. You don't want to ask for too much and then end up not hitting your benchmarks, but also know that what you apply for is likely going to be at least a little above what you actually end up getting as an award. All right, and then our timeline, once the awards are announced and we get the agreements back and you can start distributing your credits, again, you have until December 31st to hit the 60% benchmark or distribute 60% of your credits. You'll have to report on those January 19th. This is new. This year, our reports are due on Wednesdays. It is an IHCDA policy to have reports due on Monday. That's why we've always had our reports due on Monday, but I know that's caused issues with a lot of folks who end up needing to do the report last minute, which I do not recommend, but I know it can happen. And that ends up meaning doing it like on a Sunday or a Monday, maybe a Monday that's a holiday and we are not in the office to help you. So this year reports are due on Wednesdays. So you do the 60% benchmark report in January, distribute the rest of your credits by March 31st, and report on those in April, and then report on how you spent the funds in September. All right, so some changes to the manual, which again will hopefully be posted to our website in the next day or two. One of the biggest changes that we made this year, which hopefully some of you have started to notice, in previous years, if you missed a benchmark, if you did not distribute enough credits by the certain dates we provided, or you submitted a benchmark report late, you lost eligibility completely for the next round of tax credits. Part of the reason that we did that was because there is a ceiling to how many credits we can provide everyone. And we are getting more and more organizations each year. So if you are accepting credits and then you're not using them, you've quite literally taken them away from another organization that could have used them. If you're submitting reports late, if you're leaving donors off of your reports, you're putting your donors' credits at risk. So it's really important that you are hitting the benchmarks and that you are submitting your information correctly and on time. We take that as kind of a sign that you are unable to handle this program in general if you are not able to meet those really few requirements that we have. But we got a lot of feedback. We've always had a lot of feedback from agencies that that was a bit harsh, especially in today's time of COVID. So we've decided to scale that back so that if you do miss the benchmark or if you submit the reports late, you can apply for the next round of credits, assuming you still meet the eligibility requirements, but you would be treated as a new organization. So you could only apply, currently it would be up to $5,000 in tax credits. We also made some updates. We provided additional information. Really, we're trying to clarify as much as possible, get down to the fact that when you are applying when you apply for credits with a specific project and either in a specific area or to serve a specific population, that the NAP credits are being used on that particular project in that area or for that particular population. In previous years, we've seen applications and we've seen projects that are for much larger areas or maybe for an agency's general fund that could support one of 3 programs, and one of those programs is NAP approved, but the other 2 aren't. That we're trying to cut back on that as much as possible so that you are only spending NAP funds on things that are NAP approved in NAP approved areas or NAP approved for NAP approved populations. We reorganized the manual. Hopefully those of you who have seen it, or when you do see it and you're comparing it to previous years, it will make a little bit more sense. The organization of the different types of services and what has to be done in areas versus has to be done for specific populations versus other types of services. We try to make a little bit clearer this year. As I mentioned, we lowered the total amount that a returning organization can apply for to $15,000. New organizations are those that those that have not done NAP in the past 2 years. So if you've done in the last 2 years, you are a returning organization. If not, you are new. We've also added information on 401ks and expanded information on IRA contributions. Those are probably the 2 most common questions we get about donation eligibility. We've worked with DOR to kind of help clarify this. So if you get questions about this from your donors, check out the manual in our FAQ. Also new and I think somewhat exciting for this year, we have already set up the 2021 closeout report. In previous years, we wouldn't do that until around the time that the 100% benchmark report was due. We now have it set up right from the beginning, so you know that report is there, you have a link to it, you can see what questions are being asked, and you have one less excuse to forget that it's a thing. Sometimes that happens because it's due so much later than the rest of the program requirements. Make sure you don't forget about it. Make sure you circle on your calendar that at least by September 2022 that you need to do this closeout report for your 2021 credits. All right, so finally, contacting us. This is also updated a little bit from previous years. First, what has not changed is we ask that you check out our website, and already this link has changed because of that update to our website. So I will get the link to our website, specifically the webpage on NAP, to everyone. I believe if you click on this link or if you use this link, it will still take you to the NAP webpage. Luckily, they've set that up at least. But once you find the web page and once everything gets updated the way it should, there will be a manual, there will be an FAQ, there will be reporting instructions. Before you send a question to us, please check all of those areas. They are all searchable, so you don't need to read the entire manual just to find an answer to one question. You should be able to search or use the contents page to find what you're looking for. We find that at least 80 to almost 90% of the questions we get asked, we can find in those resources. So save us time, save you time, look in there first. If you look in there first, you cannot find your answer, then go ahead and email us. Email us at the NAP inbox. When you email us, make sure you include your organization's name and the contract or the agreement or award number. They're all the same thing, but sometimes they get referred to slightly differently. It's a contract number. We might refer to it as your agreement number or your award number. They're all the same. They will all be 2021-NP-3 numbers will be given at the top of your agreement as well as on the Exhibit A of your agreement. This makes it a lot easier for us to find you, your information, and if it's particularly about a report, it helps us find that particular report to help see what's going on. Again, there are many of you. The last couple of rounds, we've had about 300 NAP organizations. If you email one of us without this clarified information, we're not really going to know who you are or what's going on. So help direct us, help us focus in on what exactly you're asking about by providing this information. What is new this year for contacting us is you should email the NAP inbox, even if you are having an issue with our reporting system, which is IHCDA Online, or I think some of you know it as Authority Online. In previous years, we directed you to another department. We are going to try and filter the questions that get to them. Sometimes they get overwhelmed by all of the questions from you all, and a lot of them can be questions that we can actually help you with. I will let you know common questions that get sent to them are usually tied to issues with registration. Either someone has not registered their organization when we encourage you to do so in July or August, or their organization is registered, but they are a new staff person and they have not registered themselves. And even worse, they are trying to use a colleague's account from a previous year. Do not do that. That is actually considered fraud, because when you are submitting information through our report system that is tied to a particular person's account, tied to their name, it's like you're signing as them, and that is not good. You want to sign as yourself, so you need to make sure that you have an account if you are the one that is submitting the reports. And so if they get questions about this, these are things that Cedric and I can usually help folks at least point them in the right direction. So email us, and if we need to get either our other department involved or if we need to get DOR involved, we can help coordinate that. So that was the last. Are there any questions for any of that, Cedric?
Yep. So our last question is around, as a returning NAP agency, what is the maximum we can apply for? Is it 30,000 with the award being 15,000 credits? In other words, an application, do we apply $30,000?
Good question. You would apply for 15. So when it comes to the application and to the award and to the agreement, it's all related to the credits. We can award credits in this program. So you would apply for 15. We would give you 15 if you're approved, and we'd probably give you a percentage of the 15, and your agreement would be that percentage of 15. The 30,000 would come into play when you are reporting on donations and when you report on how you use the funds, basically how you use the donations during your closeout report. But 15 is the answer, 15,000.
Great. Seeing no more questions, it looks like it's already up here, but for those who are wanting to get the manual or request an application, is it okay if they just message the NAP inbox for that?
Yes, please do so, and we will get you the link to the application and the manual PDF. If you can wait a day, I'm really hoping that our website will be updated and we can get this information back up to the NAP webpage. And we will, like I mentioned previously, this should be recording, I believe it is, and I will post the recording of this along with these slides to that webpage. I also plan to send that out to the entire NAP listserv. So if you normally get our NAP emails, you should get that with links to the new webpage and links to all of these resources. But if you need a thing now, go ahead and email the NAP inbox.
Great. That looks like all of the questions.
All right. Well, then I will go ahead and end us a few minutes early. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope this clarified things a little bit. If not, if you still have any unanswered questions, go ahead and contact us. We can go ahead and work with you on that. I recommend you do so sooner rather than later. It's going to be a little bit harder for us to work through deep questions on what's a service that you should apply under, or where's the best fit, or how to find a good area, if you're submitting those the day the application is due. So go ahead and contact us as soon as you have a question. With that, I'll go ahead and end things. Have a good rest of your Thursday, everyone, and we will talk to you all later.
Bye, everyone.